Let me introduce Jason Maher. He's the new Read Registrars. Jason, how are you doing?
Doing great. Yeah, happy to be here. My name is Jason Maher. Everybody, it rhymes with star, and I'm the incoming registrar at Reed. I am recognizing some names. I'm recognizing some faces. So some of you already know, and I'm not just recognizing Rod Serling's face, who's there. Some of you are the other faces I am recognizing. But some of you who've been attending some of these sessions know that this is just the end of my third week here. So we're just kind of getting to know Reed together. Actually, I do want to point out, I think you are listed as Reed College Visits in the chat. So if you want to direct questions to Reed College Visits, or if you want to change your name, that'll work too. Nora, you can go ahead and launch the presentation.
I will do that. Switch. New. Show. And it's over here. Oops, sorry. I am having a little trouble, but I'll just be a moment.
No problem.
I can't figure out how to.
Well, I'll just let folks know this particular session is dedicated to advanced placement, which we sometimes call AP credit, or International Baccalaureate credit, which we sometimes call IB, as well as placement tests. The presentation will probably move pretty quickly, and so we'll have some time toward the end for questions. We've got two other members of the registrar staff here. Nora McLaughlin, who is the current registrar at Reed, who I'm doing some overlapping with, as well as Ben Bradley, who's an assistant registrar at Reed and works particularly with these types of credits. And as the slide says, we're really happy that you're coming to Reed. Thanks for choosing Reed. We're really looking forward to having you on campus in the fall. So with that, you can go ahead and advance. These are the folks I just mentioned, Ben, Nora, myself. And I think after this, we jump right in.
So sorry for the delay. I'm having a great time with this share screen thing. Welcome, Nora McLaughlin. I'm registrar for a few more days and am very excited to see those of you who are here and thinking about our incoming class. It's always been a favorite time of the year for us to think about the new folks coming to join us at Reed. And we're going to talk about three different kinds of exams, really: placement exams, advanced placement IB exams, and then other ways that you might find your way into courses at Reed. So just want to say that many departments at Reed do offer a placement exam because we want to make sure in those departments that students start at the right spot at Reed. Sometimes students who've studied let's say a language for 4 years at a high school might place in second year, they might place in third year. If they didn't really work, if that language sequence wasn't all that good, they might place in first year, more typically second or third year. But we want to make sure that you begin at the right place at Reed. And in some departments, a score on an AP or an IB exam will serve to place a student out of an introductory course. Ben will talk a little bit more about advanced placement and IB exams. But languages are a little different. Even if you earn like a 4 or 5 in French, which would typically put you at a certain spot, the language departments still want to see that you are placed properly. So even with an AP or an IB score, we're going to want to have you take the placement exam. You can see a list of the placement exams at Reed at this website, and I'll show you a picture of that. And really, if you just go to reed.edu and say placement exams, you will see a list of which departments, which subjects have placement exams. The exams open on June 10th, and the first period closes on June 16th. And if you're hoping to register in the first round of registration, you really should take placement exams between June 10th and 16th. That gives us time to grade the exams and enter the results in your student record. So taking the exams in that first round will really ensure that your summer advisor has those results, and that when you register, we have those results as well. So this is the placement exam page, and you can, as I said, find that pretty easily on Reed's website. So what about departments that don't have a placement exam? Let's say you've taken a number of years of political science. There is no political science placement exams. Most departments expect students to begin with their introductory course. Physics will have an exam during orientation. They do not have an online exam. The other exception where there is at least intake is that math will meet with individual students to determine placement. And we're going to work with them on how you can do that remotely as well. It usually involves a conversation. You can say, if you took AP Calculus or if you have your AP results, that would be part of the conversation. So math does a kind of a high touch talk with the student to figure out the right placement, because that's fairly complicated. And we will have information on the placement exams page to explain that and make that clearer to you. And then how do placement exams affect registration? Once, let's say you take the Spanish placement exam June 11th, and Spanish grades those, they get those results to us. We enter that information in the student information system, and that would allow you to then register. Let's say they place you at second year Spanish. That would allow you to, when you go to register on registration day, to sign up for second year Spanish. So it's very important that we have that before you register. That's helpful. If you take the exam after you register, let's say you weren't thinking about taking Spanish, but once you figured out your schedule, it's like, I'd really like to take Spanish. You can go back, you can take that placement exam, but it'll take us a little bit longer to update your schedule because departments will only be checking weekly for those later exams. So a couple of reasons to take placement exams is if you even think you might be taking one of those courses, it's great to do that exam now, close to when you've taken the work in high school. And also, some departments will use that exam credit as meeting a language proficiency. Not all of them will, but some of them will. So that might be in your future. So taking that exam would be a good idea, even just for that reason. So I think that's the basic overview of placement exams, and I'm going to turn it over to Ben Bradley, who will talk about the other kinds of exams.
Hi, my name's Ben Bradley. I have been in the Reed Registrar's office for a while. I was a Reed alum from a number of years ago. I was a bio major, for what it's worth. I am the Senior Assistant Registrar with a rather archaic subtitle of recorder because I record transfer credits and record grades, and once upon a time that was done by hand, but obviously it no longer is. But I work with students on all matters pertaining to transfer credits and study abroad credits. So I'd like to talk to you a bit today about credit by exam, and then also transfer credit for work done prior to attending Reed. I'm mainly going to focus on AP credits because those are the most common things that we deal with at this time of the year. To grant credit for AP credit, we have to receive the grade reports directly from the College Board. So if you have not already done so, please contact the College Board and request that they send your scores to Reed College. They will be sent directly to me. I'm the designated recipient. Once they release grades for the current term, I will be sent a big batch of exam scores, which usually arrives in mid-July, which leads to some complications since obviously we're doing registration in late June, early July. So we're going to have to talk about that a little bit. I will enter the scores that I have received prior to then, and you will be able to see them at that time in your IRIS record. We do need to discuss AP Calc, kind of single that. Well, actually, let me give a more general spiel first. We grant credit for most, but not all AP exams with a score of 4 or 5. There's one exam for which you need a 5, and there are several exams which we don't grant credit. You can see that list on our first year college credit guide, which I will refer to shortly. But what is particularly important for this time is AP Calculus. If you took AP Calc AB and got a 5, or BC and got a 4 or a 5, I need to get your scores as soon as you can. Get them to me one way or another, because those are the AP exams that typically affect registration more than any, because the math department typically regards that as equivalent to Math 111. So if we have that in the system, you would be able to register for Physics 101 without intro math here, intro calc here, or Math 112, which is our second semester calc in this intro calc sequence. Our registration system won't let you add them unless one of those courses are in, which of course they will not yet be, or this calc. So if I do not have your calculus scores and you have them available and you can look them up at the College Board online, take a screenshot and send it to me at bradley@reed.edu. I can go ahead and enter the credit based on that screenshot. And so you will be able to have an easier time registering for physics or calc 2. And then I'll keep track of that. And then once I get your official scores sent from the College Board, then I'll get that in there. But we just need to have the information in the system as soon as possible so you can register for it more smoothly. We typically grant what we call 1 unit of credit for an AP exam, which is equivalent to 5 or 4 semester credits or 6 quarter credits if you're used to those currencies from previous college work. There's one AP exam, or it's technically 2, the micro and macro econ, where we grant a half unit each rather than a full unit. For International Baccalaureate, similarly to AP, I do need to get the scores sent to me directly from IB North America. Even if you took the exams elsewhere in the world, if you're going to school in the US, IB North America can forward your scores to me. They at least come electronically, so it's a little quicker than the AP, which I still get snail mailed to me. The specific policies for the AP and IB credit granting can be found in this first year college credit guide, which is available through the admission office website or the registrar's office website in the student resources section. It discusses the specific policies of how we grant credit for AP and IB. We also grant credit for other exams, such as the German Abitur or the British System A levels. So if you want information about that, talk to me about it. I kind of mimic our IB policies because we don't have any specific policies presently codified for those exams, since we just don't deal with them all that often. They have changed the college credit guide recently so that to see the specific exam policies, there's a little red arrow that you click and it opens up a window. Otherwise, the page was really long. So some departments grant credit, some don't, but some, even if they do grant credit, want you to take the introductory course, because particularly if you're a major, they want you to get used to the department, such as physics or biology. Some grant credit in advance you pass the introductory course. That's not terribly common, but like I said, that would get you out of Math 111 if you've taken Calc. And then some grant credit, but since I enter the AP credit prior to often your registration, or there are some departments that will not allow me to grant the AP credit if you take what they consider to be an equivalent course here. So for example, the Math 111 and Calc AB or BC or Comp Sci and Math 121, if you take a similar course here, I would have to rescind the AP credit later. But if you have taken those, that can often get you into the second course in the sequence. Chemistry is a little more complicated. They will let us grant credit for any 2 out of the 3 of AP Chem, Chem 101, which is the first part of the intro sequence, and Chem 102, which is the second part. So just be sure to plan carefully, because it is possible that we might remove one of your AP credits later on. This is just a little screenshot of the first year student college credit guide, which, as mentioned, exists on the admission website, and we link to it from the registrar's office website. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about credit from other schools that you might have, colleges or universities that you might have attended prior to enrolling at Reed. There is a limit of how much credit can be transferred by a first year student who took work prior to their matriculation at Reed. It is 8 of these units, so 32 semester credits or 48 quarter credits. And that's going to be anything, whether it's AP exam scores, IB exam scores, or college courses that we can transfer. This coursework for dual enrollment credit, say, is only granted if you took the courses at a college, not if it was a course designed for high school students. So for example, if you took the course in your high school, and even if it was a college teacher and it's documented on a college transcript, we can't transfer it. But if you took it at the college or online, perhaps directly through the college with a college teacher, then we can transfer it. And the credit that we grant, certainly for exams, but now also by this pre-matriculation transfer credit, cannot be used for requirements other than the general quantity required for graduation. It cannot be applied to major, minor, division, or group requirements. And if you did attend another college, we do need to receive an official transcript from that college. We can't just go off what might be on the high school transcript.
So switching back to registration, Ben's talked a little bit about how these things affect registration. And some of this is repeat information for those of you who've attended our other sessions, but Solar will be open. Solar is our registration system on July 6th. And on that day, you'll be able to choose your first choice class in both fall and spring. We do that to make sure that everybody has a shot at their first choice or their favorite class. If we've received and recorded your exam credit, it will be considered in what we call prerequisites, which is what you would need to take a more advanced course. And for example, as Ben has pointed out, a score of 4 or 5 on the AP Calculus BC would allow you to enroll in a course that requires Reed's calculus course. So just to let you know, we do have space reserved for new students in many of our courses. Because many of our even courses that are courses without prerequisites have students in them from all class levels. You'll find seniors in some of the introductory courses because they're really interested in that topic. So encourage you to sign up for classes in fall and spring. We look at the full year, and you might not get your first best class in fall, but you'll get a spot in it in spring. And the way we're staging this is on July 6th, you can enroll in one each in fall and spring. Then July 7th, effective July 7th and throughout the month of July, you can enroll in HUME 110 and one other course. And then on August 2nd, we'll open up to enrollment in as many as 4.5 units, which would be 4 courses. But 3.5 units is the norm. Humanities 110 is a big 1.5 unit course. And 2 other courses is really the standard load for a first year student. Really important strategically, if you don't get your first choice, enroll in a second choice, as well as putting yourself on the wait list for your first choice. Exploring different areas of interest, nearly every course, I think there are 1 or 2 do not apply to group requirements, and they're kind of obscure upper level things. Be sure to sign up for HUME 110 lecture and your conference, because you're going to want to fit things in around those. One thing, if you think you've met a prerequisite, Ben talked about how things fit in and with AP or something you've taken somewhere else, but the registration system won't let you, send us a note, registrar@reed.edu. We will be watching that carefully during registration, and we will get back to you. And just some quick reminders of dates. Placement exams open June 10th. Department open houses are the 16th and 17th. That's a really good way to explore, what is sociology? How does Reed do political science? What is this math thing? We will notify incoming students of their advisor assignment and how to connect after June 14th. And we're always happy to hear from you at read.edu. And I was supposed to have Jason do that slide and I totally forgot.
You were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt. But yeah, registrar at read.edu if you have questions, and Ben's email is there as well. And I think we at this point will just sort of open it up if you have some of these for us here.
Absolutely. We have a ton of good questions. I'm just trying to keep track of them all. So first question is, are you obligated to take the placement exams that you select on the questionnaires, or can you change your mind?
You can change your mind. The questionnaires just help the departments prepare for how many they're going to need to grade and to do that. So you can change your mind.
If you take, and this is to Ben or to anyone, if you take, a college class in high school and that college class fulfills a high school graduation requirement, can you still transfer that for credits to read?
That is a recent change in our policies. It has been for many, many years the case that if you use that course in any way toward high school graduation, whether it's for the quantity credits or the breadth requirement, then we couldn't transfer it. But now, as long as you take the class through a college, even if you use it for high school graduation, we can still consider it for transfer credit. It is also helpful if you are willing and able to do so to get a letter sent to me from your high school registrar or guidance counselor explaining what courses may have been taken at the college versus taken at the college or university. And then that would help me determine which courses I can transfer.
Thank you, Ben. So I think we sent out the date for the placement exams. What happened if you can't do at any of those dates? Like would there be later dates or? Okay.
Yeah, they will open up again June, I think was it 21st, and they'll be open all summer. But the faculty, the departments will probably only be checking those and grading those maybe once a week. But yes, if you miss that window, they'll close for a little bit so that they can get all the grading done and not lose track of who's graded and who's not. But then once they open up again, they can take that placement exam. And once you register, you may say, I didn't get that political science class, but I really want to take French, so I'll go take that placement exam. Absolutely.
And would it be, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Would there be any placement exam during orientation, or is it all just online right now?
Most of them are going to be online. I think their physics is doing orientation, and I think one other department wanted to have a follow-up placement exam, but really it should be done during the summer.
Absolutely. So Ben, what happened if your AP scores get sent after the registration deadline? Like, I think one of the students say they might get it after July or something like that.
Yeah, that is typically when I get them. And for the most part, that won't be a problem because, like I said, most of the exam scores don't affect your registration. That's why I was kind of harping on calculus, because if there's any way you can get a calculus score to me, that even unofficially, that would be hugely helpful. Otherwise, we have to talk to the department about overrides for registration, and that just gets a little more time consuming. But I mean, we do what we can, and if there are any questions or problems, get in touch with me and see if we can figure something out.
So basically, get in touch with Ben ASAP.
Right. And one thing just I'll add is, we said in another session, is if you have your exam report, either online or whatever, when you meet with your advisor, that's a good thing for you to go over with them, because that will help them know what kinds of AP credits you have, or if, and they could help you with that. But have that at the ready. That helps them know kind of where you are.
Our students automatically sign up for the next higher class after they send in their score. So if they, send in a score for APs, BCs and whatnot, do they then automatically sign up for multivariable calculus or whatnot, or how does that work?
Well, if they So what can they sign up for if they send in, say, a Calc AP score?
Yes.
They can sign up for Math 111. Like I said, they'll probably then lose the AP credit at the end of the semester. It would also allow a student to register for Math 112, which is the second in the sequence. I don't think it would allow somebody to sign up for Math 201. I think for that, they would need to get placement by the department because that isn't really affected by 111. It's more by 112. Did that answer, does that address the question, or did I misunderstand?
I think so, yeah. And if it does, if the person who asked it can send the message again, that'd be greatly appreciated.
And this is where talking to a math professor is going to help, because some of you may have had enough depth that they would approve a placement in Math 201, and then they would notify us and you, and then we could enter that into the system. So that would be, as Ben pointed out, a conversation with one of the math faculty.
This question is from a transfer student about foreign language. So if the student had taken a foreign language exam, like similar, like 2 hours at another school, and they place within like, second or third year language, like, does that exempt them from taking the language placement exam, or should they still take the language placement exam?
I think the way the registration program is written, they'd probably be able to register. Well, no, you wouldn't, Ben.
If it's placement at the other school, then we wouldn't transfer that. We wouldn't have anything in the system.
Right. Yeah, if it's a placement, that's a good point. If it's a placement exam at another school, that would not be helpful to us. So they should take the placement exam. If a transfer student has, for example, taken 2 years of French, Ben, the way you enter that data in the system, would they be able to enroll in a 300 level French?
They should be. I don't yet have a lot of the most recent transcripts, so that's something I'll have to get on before registration opens, because I haven't had a chance to look into it yet. But yeah, for transfer students, I need to make sure I have all the credit recorded before registration opens.
Yeah, so if there's transfer credit, the system would respect that. If there was a placement exam at another institution, we wouldn't have record of that. We wouldn't record that.
And just a follow-up questions, if the students take or are taking classes, language classes, would that at their previous college, would that still be counted toward their minor, language minor at Reed?
A language minor, is that what you said?
Yeah, so if they had taken language classes at a previous institution that they're transferring to Reed, will those classes be counted toward their minor requirements?
If they took them as a college student, not if they took them while they were still a high school student. Yes.
Thank you. How do we sign up for the placement exam? Would there be some sort of communication from the registrar, or who should they be looking out for?
The results of the placement exam? Is that what you asked?
How will they sign up for the placement exam?
Oh, sign up. That is on that's on the web page. So if they go to the placement exam web page, they will see how to do that. I don't know if the links are up there yet, but that will on the 10th they will be able to do it from that page. I think computer science wants people to pre-book, because they have different exams based on your programming language. So students should really check out that page. I think computer science is the only one who's asking for information ahead of time.
So we have a bunch more questions about placement exam. I think this is a big topic. So another question is,
that website.
How do they work? Like, how do placement exam work? And how long do they usually last? Or is it depending on the subject and depending on the department?
So I think it depends on the subject and the department. So they're online exams. And I would imagine, I don't know if the departments give a specific amount of time. I know when they have been on campus, there was a time. There was a time that you were allowed to get that done. So I imagine that will be similar, because it's really just, this isn't something where you're going to earn credit. This is just to say, let's make sure we get you placed at the right spot. So I think you could, you could log in and schedule those and just follow the instructions for, the French exam might say you have an hour and a half to do this, go, or whatever. But I think you'll see more on that when we open placement exams.
Thank you, Nora. Oh, sorry. Did anyone want to add anything else from Ben or Jason? So do the IBs, APs, schools, do they fulfill any of the distribution requirements?
No, they do not. They are typically just general elective credit toward the total units required for graduation. I did say that that such courses cannot be used for requirements. That's not totally true. And once again, that kind of comes back to math, because a lot of the departments that have Math 111 as a requirement will allow the AP Calc as a substitution for that class. But that's a rarity or a definite anomaly. Yeah. But yeah, it's typically just bulk credit.
I'm trying to read through these questions.
And I'll just piggyback on that while Hui is looking is for example, biology will accept a unit. It's 1 unit, right, Ben, for the biology AP exam, but they do require you then to take introductory biology. So it's credit toward the 30, but it does not meet the group or other requirements. So that's a fairly typical way that AP credit is managed.
Thank you, Nora. And the person does clarify. So if you take the placement exam to skip Cal 111, for example, would that exempt you from that requirement if you're math majors? Yes, or do you still require to take that class as part of your major?
That would exempt you from it. But I believe our degree audit program is set up, or our degree tracking program is set up to have that shown as met if there's a placement exam result in there that moves them into a more advanced class.
And the same would be true for physics, right, Ben? So they don't need to take it. If they have AP, that does satisfy that requirement.
Well, AP physics?
No, AP math, sorry.
Yes, correct.
Not AP physics, no. Sorry, thank you for that.
We've got two questions. So for IB scores this time, what is the difference in credits given to IB high level and standard level courses?
There is only one standard level exam for which we grant any credit, and that is chemistry. Most of the time it has to be higher level. And once again, we grant credit for most of the higher level exams, and we need to have a score of a 5, 6, or 7.
And do you get like 1 unit or 2 units for that?
For IB, we actually grant 2 units per higher level exam.
Excellent, thank you. I think a lot of these questions are just similar questions to the one that we asked. So I'm just going to read through, like, are they different? Are they the same?
And students you might find it easy to look at that first year student transfer credit page, because it really does list each exam and what the credit is for those. So you'll find that really helpful on the admission and in the admission page.
Are there sample schedule of what a typical freshman schedule looks like? Or each freshman have totally different and unique schedule to them?
That's a really good question. And we're working on a document that does show sample schedules and hope to have that in place. It's called our advising handbook, but it was built for advisors, but we're actually trying to make it so it faces both students and faculty. And we should have that up. And Jason, let's check in with Martha on that we have that ready by advising, because it's in pretty good shape right now. But just generally, a first-year student will take Humanities 110, and then a course, if they have a notion of a major, the introductory course in that major, if that course is offered to first-year students, like all the sciences, you would take a first-year biology or chemistry or physics. If you're thinking of a language major, you would take, first or second year language. And then another course that would be more about general requirements. So most first-year students take 3 academic courses and 1 or 2 PEs. PEs don't count in the units toward graduation, it's the 30-unit bucket, but you have to get 6 quarters of PE, which is 3 semesters worth of PE. So 3 courses plus a PE or 2 in that first semester is a pretty hefty load at Reed. And thanks for that question about sample schedules. We will endeavor to make that available so students can poke around and see, well, what would a first-year anthropology major take? For example, because anthropology, the major introductory course is really a sophomore level course. So there's a lot of choices. And if you're undecided, there are lots of ways, and an advisor will help you sort out how to keep as many paths open as possible. Because the sciences are very sequential, the humanities and social sciences are less sequential unless it's languages where if you need to start at the beginning. So it really varies across the curriculum.
And another question for transfer students, are they required to take UM 110?
It depends. For a student that is essentially transferring as a first year, either i.e. fewer than 6 units, yes, they are required to take UM 110. If it's somebody who is transferring in as a sophomore or occasionally a junior, they have the option of taking one of the second year humanities courses plus a unit at large from group 1 or group 2 that isn't being used for group 1 or group 2 to round out the 3rd unit. It's pretty rare that a transfer student has enough humanities coursework to completely meet our humanities requirement, but it's not unheard of. But yes, there are options for transfer students.
We have several people who asked this questions already, but this is pretty simple. We are recording this sessions and we will make them available as soon as possible. So probably in a day or 2. If you have questions, please send them in. I'm not seeing any new questions right now. Going once, going twice.
I just have one thing I want to mention, and that is if you did do some college level work prior to coming to Reed, it's helpful if you write to me and notify me of that fact, because at best, I don't have any particularly good way of identifying that population. So if you let me know that you have done some work, then I'll know to look into it. But
and that's for the first year students who might have transfer credit. Is that right,
Yeah.
Ben?
correct,
Transfer students, you get all that information, but
transfer students I monitor reasonably carefully. So yeah, I should have that when the documents are in, although.
right. But as Ben said, with first year students, we don't always know that you went to a community college while you were in high school. So let us know.
Also, I didn't cut you off. Will the language placement exam involve like recording or readings and writing? Is it multiple choice? Do you speak? Like how does that work for foreign language?
I have to say, I don't know. But what's very cool about the placement exam page is that there's a contact for each of the departments. So I think you could very happily, and I think the departments would be happy to answer that question. So as I look at the placement exam page, it says French placement exam, contact Luc Monin. And you could click on that and Luc's email will come up and you can send Luc a note and say, do I have to talk or am I just writing, or what, what does that placement exam look like? And you would get a better answer than any of the 3 of us guessing.
They've changed a little bit since I took placement exams.
Indeed. I was going to take the Spanish placement exam last year, but I never got brave enough to do it.
Oh, we got an interesting question. So what happened if, you're a math major and you took a class at your previous universities that Reed's version is like 2 different classes, right? So how does that work if you transfer this class to Reed?
That is not an uncommon occurrence, and that is one where you pretty much just have to talk to the math department, and and hopefully the chair can tease out how we're going to deal with it. But I don't have enough professional competence and knowledge of the curriculum to be able to make such judgments. But that's kind of part of the whole math consultation model for placement, is that it does kind of address transfer credits as well.
Right.
And even if it's something we can't transfer for whatever reason, you took the classes and might have the knowledge, so that could be taken into account for placement.
Great, thank you, Ben. I'm learning actually quite a bit from this session. So where can students find the full curriculum or classes that they need to take for their courses? Are they available online, or are they?
Is this for the major?
Yes.
As Nora mentioned, we are working on this advising handbook, which will hopefully be published in time and easily found for finding that stuff out. We also, on the registrar's webpage at read.edu/registrar, have a section called student resources. And one of the line items is there is something we call major planners. And those are PDF sheets that have the requirements pretty much laid out. Because if you look in the catalog, it can be in as many as 3 different places where you have to look to see what all the requirements are. So these major planners are quite helpful for that. You'll also eventually get access to a degree progress tracking tool that we've called Atlas, that for whatever major you're signed up as, you can see how what courses are needed and how transfer courses might fit in. And you can even, once you have some classes in the system, see what your collection of work would look like for a different major if you're still pondering what you want to do. So there are several means of finding this information, but right now I would suggest looking at the advising handbook when it's available on these major planners.
I just put a link to the major planners in the chat, and don't be confused that it says 2019 in the link. It's actually just the current major planners.
Do professors put their course curriculums online, or how would students, like, if I'm looking to take this class or not, but I wanted to kind of figure out more about it, like how can I learn about the class curriculum, things like that? Do I reach out to the professor directly, or are they somewhere?
I think I'd start with the department webpage, because some of the departments have very extensive conversations about who does what kind of work. And so I would poke around there first. I'd look at the description in the catalog. And then if still it wasn't clear, I think you could certainly reach out to faculty. Some of them will be off researching this summer or whatever, but you could certainly reach out. But I'd start with the department webpage and the catalog as a good overview of what's going on.
All right, we have about 15 minutes left. If you have questions, please enter them. Is there anything that from Jason, Nora, or Ben that you might want to present and talk about that you haven't done so already?
Can't think of anything. I'm glad Ben brought up the major planners. I think those are a nice way of just getting a snapshot of what a student would expect to do, because some of our majors just have major requirements and some of them have major and division requirements. And so that can be that's an extra layer in some of our majors. So having a look at those, you could kind of shop around and see what it looks like to be a sociology major, or what it looks like to be a dance major, or any of that. So I think the major planners are a really nice resource to kind of think conceptually about what a major would look like.
And they are not yet up to date for the new catalog year, so there might be minor changes, but it should be fundamentally sound information.
Right. We didn't have a lot of curricular changes to majors last year that will show in the coming year. I think music is the only one with some pretty different changes, but the curriculum, the courses that are out there in music are the ones that they're going to be in the major requirements.
These questions might be a little bit off topic, but I'm curious if you guys have answered them. So first off, when will students meet with their advisors? I know in the past it's usually during orientations, but now is it like throughout the summers or is it a set period? And second, if you're undeclared, how do you get chose? Like who will be your advisors if you're undeclared?
So good questions. We're gonna do advising in two parts this year. We're gonna have summer advisors. So, and those advisors will be doing advising from, remind me, Jason, the 21st through July 2nd. So in that week before, students will be notified of who their summer advisor is, and that's someone that will just help students come up with their first year program. And for transfer students, we're going to assign those to faculty who are very interested in working with transfer students. So we will take care of that. And those advisors will be your summer advisor and help you with your first year course selection. Then during orientation on that Thursday, you will have an advisor meeting with your academic advisor. That's your advisor who will be your advisor for the first year generally, and sometimes on and on. We will, from the letter to the advisor and the advising questionnaires that you've completed and submitted, we, for the academic advisor, will do as close a match as we can to your areas of interest. Some of you have told us, I know exactly what I want to do. I want to be a Spanish major, you know, and if you tell us that, and that's exactly what you want to do, for all intents and purposes, you're going to have an advisor in the Spanish department. If you're saying, yeah, I'm thinking about these three things and I'm not sure, we will probably give you an advisor who's more of a generalist advisor who can advise across different disciplines. And that's true for undecided. A lot of our faculty really like to work with students who are undecided because really at Reed, it's a Bachelor of Arts degree. It's a liberal arts degree. It's not a Bachelor of Science. It's not a Bachelor of Fine Arts. You're going to get a very rich, broad experience at Reed. And so some students really take until the end of their second year to really figure out what they're going to major in. And so having an advisor who can help you keep those paths open will be a good strategy. So you get two for the price of one. It may be that your summer advisor ends up being your academic advisor. That will happen, I think, with some people, but it'll be more, we're a little more, we will be more careful in the assignment of the academic advisor to try to match them to the student. So I hope that's helpful.
Are you able to request advisors? Like, you know, if somehow you know that this person's research is like your favorite topic in the whole wide world, and you want them to be your advisors, like you
we don't generally take requests. This isn't like a dance party, but certainly, you know, if you put that in the letter to the advisor, if in your response documents, that would be interesting information. We can't always match that, and some advice, faculty go on sabbatical, they, whatever. And we try to keep the advising load as even as we can. So if your absolutely most favorite advisor already has 22 people, we're not going to put you with that person. So it's a pretty complicated thing. And it's not that hard to change your advisor. So we generally ask the first year students to hang in there with their advisor, but if it's not a good match, we will, in the registrar's office, help you rejig that. So.
Thank you so much. I think we have 8 more minutes left, and those are all the questions that I'm seeing right now. If you have questions, you want to have them in. Nora, can you share your email in the chat?
Sure.
That was one of the questions that we just got.
I thought you were just stalking me or something.
No. I know your email, Nora.
You know where to find me. It's nmclaugh@reed.edu. Because that's what I do most of the time.
I think that might wraps up our conversation here. I'm not seeing any other questions. No one is typing anything we use up our time perfectly. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
Again, we will make sure that we email this out to you guys once the video is ready, so you can watch or share that with all the students. We'll share this with all the students who might not get a chance to join us today, so you get to watch this. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful and safe weekend as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.